The Gen 12 renderer has finally made it into Star Citizen, at least in the 318 PTU. And in this video, I've done some testing. Now, we've got to talk about the fact that the PTU is a terrible place to do testing. It doesn't represent live performance. It's got debugging code, which kind of messes everything up. And so you can't compare this to 317 live. And overall, performance is way down on 317 at the moment in the PTU. But Sylvan, the legendary CIG developer kind of behind all of this stuff, he got in touch and he said there's a few things you can do to basically go into the code and change the renderer between what was pre-317, so all of the old versions of the game, basically the CryEngine renderer. 317 then had some static geometry done with the Gen 12 renderer, and then in 318 you've got the full Gen 12 renderer, and so you can switch between those in the console in game. Now he did say don't say how to do that. It has been leaked elsewhere, but I'm going to respect that and not tell you how to do it, but I will show you what the difference is. So let's get into that. So we're going to start with some footage in game of how these different renderers change things, and then I've got some Lorville testing with both my main system with the 5800 XDD and the minimum spec system with the i5-8400, just to show you how this affects performance in the game. And I won't spoil that, but yeah, we'll get onto that in a minute. So left to right, we've got the legacy renderer, we've got the 317 one with the static geometry, and then the full Gen 12 renderer. As you'll see, when you switch between them, the render thread itself gets faster, and that is good news. And we can see here all the work that they've been doing at CIG has been effective, and the render thread is now quicker. These scenes that I've chosen are particularly harsh on the render thread. There's plenty of places where it's down at 4 or 5 milliseconds, but in this one on Lorville, looking at all the ships at New Deal, it's pretty harsh. And then if we switch across to the Origin scene that I've been testing for a little bit now, you'll see again a sizable jump in performance on the render thread itself between each of these versions of the renderer. What's obvious though is that performance itself hasn't improved overall, and we've said this for a while that the render thread is a part of Star Citizen's performance problem, but in places where the main thread is running slower than the render thread, you're not going to see any benefit. So if we swap across to the minimum spec system, will we see anything different? Well, you'll see here we see the same pattern in terms of each version of the renderer is improving. So the 318 Gen 12 renderer, the full Gen 12 renderer is faster. There's some quirkiness going on with the minimum spec system where it's jittering all over the place, but you will see as it settles in those scenes that it gets faster as we move up the renderers, or to the newer renderers, the 318 one. And so we know that the Gen 12 renderer is faster just in general, but again, especially actually on the minimum spec system, the main thread is the bottleneck. That's what's going on here. And so even though the Gen 12 renderer is faster, we don't see improved performance. And that, in theory, would pass over to the Lorville runs I've done. But this is an interesting thing, and this could be interesting going forward for me in my testing. The current server performance, or not server performance, but the performance that you get as a client on each server is all over the place. So I couldn't do as many runs because there was this weird thing in the PTU where it takes ages to get on each server. So I've done 10 runs with the main system, and I've only managed to do 5 runs with the minimum spec system. I ran out of time. But effectively, you can't take anything from these results, because you're seeing now, when you load into Lorville, for instance, Lorville in 317, the number of entities used to be pretty much bang on around the 70,000 mark every server that you loaded into. Now we're seeing from probably around 90,000 up to 150,000 on each server that you load into. And so performance, although let's go into this again, but although you're not directly affected by the server FPS, you are indirectly affected, because each busy server has more stuff for your client CPU to churn through. So performance as it stands at the moment in the PTU it can vary absolutely massively on both systems. So these graphs that I'm putting up here now, there's just nothing to be taken from them. It's completely random depending on what sort of server you got onto. I've never seen anything quite like it, where performance can be really good on an empty server and really affected on a busier server. It hasn't ever been as wild as this. So hopefully that will settle down as we get through to a live patch, but whether that's the PES stuff, the persistent stuff, we'll see. But for now, Great work from CIG on the Gen 12 renderer. It's working, it's faster, but at least for now, with the parts that we've got and the rest of the architecture as it is, we're not seeing performance benefits in the PTU. But I will go through and do all the testing once this is live, because again, the PTU isn't great to test. So we'll do more testing. If you like that sort of thing, subscribe, like this video, join the Discord, and if you want to become a member, that's amazing as well. So we'll see you soon. Bye.